Hey, what's good, everyone? Welcome to another reading. So, today we've got a reading on creativity. I might call this creative in the thumbnail if it doesn't fit. But what this reading is going to be about is it's essentially like it's essentially a career reading. So, for some of you out there, you might not deem yourselves as creatives. I believe that everyone's creative in their own way. You might be listening to this and you might be from an industry which you don't seem creative at all, or you might just think yourself to be someone who's not creative at all. But I'll give you an example, right? So uh, in architecture, especially when you're studying architecture, there's a certain part of the study where you have to learn about law. And if I was to talk to you, Pole 1, Pole 2 and Pole 3 is, do you think law is a creative subject? Most of you would say no. But I found that even subjects like law, accounting, all of them, they do take some creativity in order to truly master them, if you ask me. So with law, in architecture at least, a lot of the law involved is basically contractual law, like agreements. So as architects, we've got these kind of standard contracts. But a lot of the, how do you say, the more successful architects, you start realizing, damn, they've got bespoke contracts going on here. They're not using those standard forms. And the reason is because they're being creative, in my opinion, with that agreement. They're favouring themselves, not just the client or the contractor. They're playing in that grey area. In order to do that, someone might argue here who's listening and say, no, they're just being intelligent. But I say to truly play in that grey area is essentially thinking outside the box. That's not necessarily being intelligent, that's being creative. So that's like a certain example there, which hopefully I didn't completely butcher in explaining that, but every single industry that you can think of requires some form of creativity. And that's what this reading is about today. We're going to focus on something where even if you don't see yourself as a creative, you can inject some creativity into your career or possibly even your life. So they're pre-drawn today. Pole number 1, pole number 2, pole number 3. Feel free to pause the video. We'll start off with pole 1s. Alright, pole number 1s. Just check that we're in camera. So I think like the key word here would be, well, there's a few key words. It would be like balancing on sound and vibration. So for some of you, you know, like it's not the first time that this type of energy has come through in a reading. This could be like my singers and my musicians. You might use your voice in some kind of way. You might even be speakers, or I don't know, any kind of career where your voice is important. You might be some form of advisor, or, you know, fill in the gaps. But what's quite important here is I feel like, so like the grounding of this reading is to do with sound and vibration, but like the key part of the creativity comes in the form of cutting. And what was interesting in this reading is that the word chord was coming through. So the key word is cutting, but like the secondary key word was chord. And what was interesting there was that I was getting the spelling of chord in two different ways. So you've got the chords that are played in music, but then I was also getting chord like a chord, and that kind of falls into that first word I was talking about, which was cutting and cutting chords. So I feel like part number ones, this is definitely going into the creative depths of infinity, but I feel like your creativity could come in the form of like, chord cutting. Like how does that kind of like look for you in your industry or in your career, in your realm? So I can't really like help you with that. I guess if we was to keep it to music, this would remind me of like the sampling. This would be like when you cut a sample and then loop it, cut it and loop it and then loop it and loop it. But there's maybe something there to do with your industry pile number ones, where it's like that cutting, chopping and looping might be important for you. It even reminds me a little bit of like automation, pile number ones, like a way that you could be creative. It could be something to do with like automating something. There's something that could reoccur. So that's kind of like I feel like I nailed the general of the reading, right? There was a lot of little other parts coming off this reading now. I guess that's because that's, all your different energies that I'm picking up on. But kind of going back to sound, I was getting for some of you, like this might literally just be chord cutting. So some of you might be scratching your head if you're not spiritual, and you might be thinking like, what the hell is chord cutting? For anyone who's like Christian and they need like a super basic way of explaining this would be like, in Christianity, when you cut yourself off from different types of sin, like it might be lust, might be, is it gluttony, things like that. One could argue that that's a form of cord cutting. There's something, a habit or a sin that you're attached to, and you're releasing yourself from that, you're cutting it off. If you was to use the term cord cutting in spirituality in general, people can kind of argue that that's to do with also relationships, etc., etc. You can attach it to everything. But hopefully that's like a little quick breakdown of how that can work, right? And if you're super logical and you're not spiritual at all, you could argue that the cord cutting could be of even the physical. You might be addicted to something. It might be you have too much sugar in your day and you decide that you're not going to have any sugar. You're making some form of cut there, and you might find it hard to argue that that is some form of energetic cut. There's a conscious effort to make some form of change in your current existence. That's a kind of a cut, a spiritual cutting, a cord cutting. So for some of you out there, this is just basically a reminder for you of cutting cords. There's maybe certain things in your life that you still need to cut. And one of the key things that will come in through here is like literally sound might help you. Like this might be a creative way to help you release cord cutting, right? So I was literally getting drawn to use my scissors here, and I've got some scissors in my hand and I'm going to try and get the sound for you. So if that does something for you, that might be something that helps you. You might want to be thinking about, even if it's during like your meditations and stuff, like you might need to pick up on that kind of sound that might, do you understand? It's like there's a certain vibration to that. Like I said, if you're not spiritual, I've completely lost you, and that's okay. But for some of you, you're gonna pick up what I'm dropping. Like that might actually help you to cut some shit out. So pole number one's, that's your reading. I hope it was helpful for you. As always, please do remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Check out the If You Pause website, ifyoupause.com. See you in the next one. Take care. All right, pole number two's. This is my wavy pile. You know, like pole number two's, I feel like bless your heart, really. I feel like my pole number two's, at least in this reading, I feel like there's, you know, it's that mastery of kind of chaos type energy. So watery elements here. I should have said actually in pole number one's, that was definitely kind of air energy. But pole number two this is kind of water. You might relate to Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces energy. But this is kind of the energy here of, so waves. It's kind of embracing the chaos. I feel like for pole number two's, if there was anything to really learn from this pile, it would be that kind of whatever chaos you've been through, you may want to be like expressing that. You might just want to be kind of using that more in your life. So what's an example here? Like, I know this is really stupid, but kind of try and like bear with me, try and catch what I'm trying to say here, pole twos. Let's say, for example, you're a nurse, right? And you're you just generally work in a hospital and you're a nurse. But let's say like you had some form of chaos when you was a child. Let's say you had some form of, like, you know, touch wood, this wasn't you, but let's say you had some form of accident where it kind of prevented you from, maybe you had to walk with a limp or something like that. It messed you up somehow. And like kind of the energy that I'm getting here is that might have caused you a lot of chaos in your life. Let's say when you were growing up or in family situations. It might be stuff as little as hurting your self-esteem, or it might be something like, you know, people mocking you or teasing you or something like that. The point is that kind of incident created a lot of chaos in your life, and like the message that I'm trying to convey to you is that instead of just being a nurse who goes into the hospital and helps people in general, there's like a little nudge that I'm getting here to tell you to like try and specialize it in that thing that you went through. So start being a nurse for people who had trouble walking, and then that's going to really fuel your career. That's really going to help you more. You know, like, as I'm saying this out loud, I think I've done this naturally, pole number twos, like in my career. So I can speak that proudly, and know that actually did work for me. So there's like a little nudge that I'm feeling to give you, pole number twos, where it's like that thing that you've been through, you're not just a nurse who's just helping some random people. You're helping people who've actually, that you can relate to, that have gone through that thing that you've gone through. And in general, that's just going to be a lot more, I can't think of the word, but like it'll give you a lot more gratitude, you know? There'll be a lot more of a give back if you do that. So yeah, like pole number two is like, that's pretty much the gist of your reading. Like there's like a beautiful chaos here, but it's how you're utilizing that, how you're using that. I feel like there's like for pole number twos, this is also a reminder of like there's so much fuel here. You know, like you know, I was thinking about this the other day actually. I was thinking like there's so many people out there in this world who go through so much terrible shit, and that terrible shit that they go through is just wasted. Like one of the big factors that I've noticed with people who are kind of like successful and people who aren't, it's like the tough shit that they go through is wasted for the people who don't make it, and for the people who do, they actually use that. I feel like for pole number twos, it might, that might have hit you like a punch in the face when I said that, but there's truth in that, and I know there's truth in that for sure. Like, pole number twos, I feel like there's a whole load of energy here, a whole load of fuel, which isn't quite being like utilized. So pole number twos, that's a reminder for you to utilize it. It's like, it's a hard way to explain it, but it's like, it's almost a storm, it's almost the storm is brewing, but don't let it just brew inside yourself. Like, actually express it, do something with it. If it's art, if it's in your career, whatever career you're in, like kind of release it. I think there's a term like release the kraken, which is a little bit demonic, but release like your heavenly sword. release your heavenly shield, do you know what I mean? Or release the kraken, whatever floats your boat. But that's the energy, pole number twos. I hope it was helpful. If it was, please do remember to like, comment and subscribe. Check out If You Pause website, ifyoupause.com. I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Okay, pole number what are we on? Threes. Pole number threes. Okay, so clearly like that Leo energy here. I guess this is my fire sign. So we've had air, water and fire. So pole threes, you're representing fire. Leo's Sagittarius, Aries. Like, I would say if I had to explain this lion kind of seems quite graceful. It seems like if I had to create a story to match with this lion's energy, this would remind me of the lion that's just been fed. It's basking in the sun, or it's chilling. It's already hunted, it's already done its thing. So pole number threes, I feel like this might just be to do with like almost like an energy update. Or it could even just be like, I was just getting there as well, like that's maybe how you're holding yourself creatively, or you might want to hold yourself creatively in that way. The energy of a lion that's been well fed. It's not there to attack no one, but you got to remember that's still a lion, do you know what I mean? You don't want to go over and pet this lion, even though it looks like it's had its meal. You don't want to go over there and just pet it. Do you know what I mean? There's something like that going on. I also feel like for pole number threes, like there's something a little bit like regal in this reading, because it reminds me of like like some luxury houses, they have like the stone lions either side the doorway. So there might be some form of like luxury coming into your life. Do you know what I mean? It reminds me of those carved stone lions. You might work in some kind of industry where you carve or you use your hands, or stone might be important. I was getting the word like gateway as well, that just came through. Because like the lion's either side of the gate or the door. So that might mean something to you. Yeah, so like poem number three, this is a pretty quick read, and I feel like this is a lot to do with like, sorry, there wasn't much in there to give you like creative, like a creative advantage career wise. I feel like this is more to do with like how to carry yourself. I know that's a weird one, but I feel like it's almost a little bit more social. I think it's a lot to do with like carrying yourself. So everything that I've kind of just said in this reading, part three, is like, think about that in terms of the way that you're carrying yourself. I think that's where your gem is. It's like, sprinkle a little bit more of that on, or it's a reminder that that's kind of, you might have even gone through certain phases recently, part number three, is where you've questioned why someone's treating you, speaking to you, or acting a certain way around you. It's because you're embracing this type of energy. So part number three is, as always, thank you for being here. Please do remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Check out the If You Pause website, ifyoupause.com, and I'll see you in the next one.